Hi, welcome to Fireball's Garage. I'm Justin, and today we're at this episode 1 of the Forney Museum. I'm here with an original 1908 Sears runabout buggy. Everybody knows the name Sears, and the Sears catalog came out in about 1900, and everybody ordered everything from Sears. It was, a time of, oh, we can order this, we can order that. Oh, look at this, and we can have it sent directly to our door. And so when Sears started offering a buggy, that took everybody by storm. This buggy, brand new, was $259, and Sears advertised it as so easy to drive, a child could drive it. It had a top speed of 25 miles an hour, and when you ordered it, Sears says, we'll deliver it to you. All you need to do is add the gas, and it's ready to go. And this is a single-cylinder engine. It has what they call tiller steering on it, which you turn this and back and forth to turn. You have, this is your stator and your throttle. So this is how you adjust your throttle. This is how you select your gears. It has very rudimentary 2 pedals inside that one's a brake and one's your throttle, or adjustable throttle, I should say. It is, if you come around to the back here, it is dual chain sprocket driven. It has gasoline or kerosene lanterns on it, a very rudimentary suspension with buggy wheels, which at the time, this was the cream of the creme, is to have this car. And it's a very fascinating vehicle as far as the age of the horseless carriage. Oh, I gotta get around an I-beam there, sorry. At the point of time when automobiles were coming into existence, which was probably about the 1890s, late 1890s, early 1900s, they weren't really classified as cars or automobiles at that point. At that point, they were known as horseless carriages. So this would be considered a horseless carriage, a carriage style using an internal combustion engine with no horse. Hence the name horseless carriage. And right next to us here, we have another horseless carriage. And this was a later one. And so this is actually I should say it's earlier than that one. This is an 05 Ford. So this was one of the first Fords that Henry Ford produced as an everyman's car. 120, let's see. It was a 127 cubic inch engine, tiny little thing, water cooled. And this one was more expensive than the Sears buggy at the time. I think this one was about $400 versus the $259. Chain driven, just like the other one, and that was kind of the early. And this was more of the, what I would like to call the cowl forward look that became more popular. So instead of having the engine and cooling under here, under the chassis, the only thing that was mounted under the chassis was the engine, and this was all your cooling and all of that equipment. And then later, once I guess engineering got better, they'd move the engine into this and create that cowl forward look. This is a gorgeous car. This one was restored probably, I think, 1985. It is an original. All these cars in this museum are original. The other thing that was different on the Fords, especially versus anything else, was the ignition. They used actually coil packs rather than a distributor and a timer to set the ignition on the engine. This was only a 2-cylinder. So it just had 2 ignition coils here, and then this is how you'd set your timing and everything else. And over here, on top of, as we're getting more into the teens, this is a 1909 Rio runabout, single cylinder, 12 horsepower. It's amazing little buggy, same kind of idea as the Ford. The engine was mounted under the seat. Your front end here is your cooling and whatnot. These ones, the price range on these, I can't remember the price range on the Rio, but I can't remember off the top of my head, so we'll have to come back to that. But there were a lot of automobile manufacturers that started getting into this at the turn of the century. Almost 2,000. Some of them made one single car. Some of them made 100 cars. Rio is one that stuck around for quite a while. In fact, Rio, up until the 1970s, made vehicles, but they went from cars to trucks. So you have the Rio semi-trucks and Rio one-ton farm trucks and stuff like that from the 50s. And Rio quit making them, and then I can't remember the story on what happened to the Rio cars, but they started concentrating on larger vehicles. And this one is fun. This is actually my cameraman and mechanic Joran's favorite little car here at the museum. It's called a Nera car. And in England, they had a tax on 4 wheels. And this one was built as kind of a small little design, oh, hey, this is kind of fun, little Nera car. As far as it goes, and this is a 1921 right here, and as far as they know, I think they said this is the only one left. Let me see here. Yes. This one is the only one left in existence, and it is a cool little vehicle. I like this one, and like I said, my mechanic and cameraman Joran, this is one of his favorite things. He said, if I had that, man, I'd drive that thing everywhere. And he's eccentric, so I know he would, and he's really loving these old cars with me and stuff. And we're actually going to do an interview with him on a later show about his car, which is a 1969 MGB GT that he's working on. And as we go over here, I'm going to skip over this guy for right now, this Franklin, because I want to come back and do a whole thing on Franklins. I actually own one of these in my personal collection. This is the what's called the Curved Dash Oldsmobile, 1903, Curved Dash Oldsmobile. This was one of the more prominent cars in the day that saw a lot of widespread use and a lot of sales. I mean, these were sold to quite a few people, and there's several of them that still exist today because of the manufacturing. Like I said, I have one in my personal collection. It's not nearly as nice as this, but someday we're hoping to get it as nice as this one. It was a single-cylinder engine. This crank right here is how you'd start the engine. You'd crank it over and then get the engine to pop. You had a brake lever, and then this tiny little pedal right here, that's your gas pedal. It had kerosene lanterns, so you'd fill these with kerosene and you'd light these lanterns individually. This one it was restored later. It has a more modern engine in it. It's been modified a little bit. Instead of the throttle being down here, it's right here. So it's been modified a little bit. It actually runs and drives, and it's pretty close to original. And this again was a chain drive automobile, and just a fantastic little buggy. And they made thousands of these things, and they top out at about 25 miles an hour, so they're pretty slow. But back then, that was pretty quick. So I'm going to end that one on these early cars with this one here. And like I said, we have one in the personal collection, and we'll probably eventually do a video of us restoring the one I have in my private collection. But it's not nearly as nice as this one. It definitely needs more work. But this is going to act as a surrogate to restore ours. We're going to use this one as a pattern to restore ours. So we'll see you on episode 2, and we'll see you again.